They know Sports Central. We go over our next schedule preview of this offseason, and it's going to be over the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, a team that should be very much considered a potential contender for the 2023 season. This is a team that, with their returning production, of course, Sam Hartman coming in, the standout Wake Forest quarterback, this is a team that the sky's the limit as we look forward to 2023, and we'll be talking about them here today. We'll go over the players this team will be losing, who they'll be returning, and previewing their schedule for the first time this offseason. Let's get started with a quick recap of 2022. This is a team that got off to a bumpy start in 2022. They lost to Ohio State, which, of course, the Buckeyes, an outstanding team. So it wasn't a terrible loss. It was disappointing, 21-10 being the final score. But the loss to Marshall the next week was confusing and very disappointing. And so this team to start the season 0-2 was concerning for sure. But this is a team that improved dramatically over the course of the 2022 season. You look at the North Carolina win, this team showed their potential there, going on the road against a good North Carolina team and getting the win. They also beat Cal, had a good win over BYU in Las Vegas after their bye week. But of course, they lost to Stanford. I mean, the first half of the season just was an inconsistent, just a rocky road for Notre Dame. I mean, that Stanford loss should have never happened, especially after two excellent wins over North Carolina and then BYU. But the second half of the season, this team definitely turned it on. They dominated UNLV. They dominated Syracuse on the road. They beat up Clemson 35-14, beat Navy, beat Boston College, shut them out 44-0. And then a huge game against USC to finish out the regular season. They took the loss there 38-27, but you could tell in that USC game at the end of the regular season, this was a much better team, far and away a much improved team versus what we saw in week 1 or week 2. They played South Carolina in the Gator Bowl to finish out the season, beat them 45-38, just to truly show how far this team had come over the course of 2022. I mean, South Carolina was a team that was hot heading into that matchup, just had beaten Tennessee and Clemson. I mean, so that was an impressive win there to finish out this season. This team was 9-4 overall, and definitely brings some optimism as we look forward to 2023. Your roster preview now. Drew Pine is transferring out. He's headed to Arizona State, so he is not going to be around for 2023. But, I mean, I'm just going to be honest here. Who cares when you got Sam Hartman coming in? Sam Hartman, the Wake Forest standout quarterback, he is going to have an immediate impact, and it's going to be significant for this team. I mean, Sam Hartman at Wake Forest was nothing short of you look at Wake Forest the past few years, they've been a contender because of Sam Hartman in this offense, or Wake Forest offense. And so Hartman coming in here, I mean, that just brings, I think, tremendous potential to this offense. And you look at the backfield, this team returns their top two running backs in Logan Diggs and Audric Estime. I mean, you got two running backs here who combined for over 2,000 yards, 18 touchdowns. Logan Diggs over 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns on the season. I mean, and Estime had 12 touchdowns. So the backfield looks great. I mean, your receiving core, Chris Tyree, who looks like he could be playing at receiver in the 2023 season. He had over 400 yards of rushing in 2022, though. And he's an all-around player on this offense, and he's excellent at what he does. I mean, he had nearly 600 yards on the season, 5 touchdowns. Michael Mayer, though, that is the main concern as far as losses go offensively. The top tight end, top in receiving. I mean, he had over 800 yards this past season. But you do have your second in receiving and your top wide receiver, Jaden Thomas, coming back, and your second wideout in Lorenzo Styles also coming back as well. So this team has got some depth. I'm really not too concerned about this offense. You lose 2 on the offensive line, but defensively you do lose a few key players, 3 defensive linemen, 2 linebackers, and then 3 in the secondary. So that is my main concern, is defensively. But as far as it goes on offense, I mean, I could see this team being all-around dominant as far as it goes offensively. So it brings up the question, is a potential return to the college football playoff a possibility in 2023? I think it's very much so. This is a team that should be considered a dark horse contender heading into 2023. I mean, Notre Dame's receiving some noise heading into 2023, but not a whole lot. They're still overshadowed a bit. So, but yeah, I'll just say this. Don't be surprised one bit if we see Notre Dame as a big contender for the majority of the 2023 season. Your transfer portal and recruiting, we talked about Sam Hartman and Drew Pine. Hartman is coming in from Wake Forest. Drew Pine is off to ASU. Caleb Smith's coming in, a wide receiver from Virginia Tech, so that adds some good depth to the receiving core. Jacob Lacey, defensive lineman, is off to Oklahoma. Javonte Jean-Baptiste, linebacker, is coming in from Ohio State. You also bring in Thomas Harper, a safety from Oklahoma State. You lose 2 defensive backs here. Neither of them really had big impacts, but Jaden Bellamy and Joe Wilkins are both off to different places. Recruiting-wise, this team is 12th in the nation. This is a top 15 team in recruiting. Obviously, that is an excellent position to be in. They got 19 4-stars coming in and then 4 3-stars. So on the future forecast meter, I got this team at a 9 out of 10. I think the future is very bright for Notre Dame, especially in 2023. Things look great for this team. You look at the transfer portal, this team has done well. Of course, they haven't been too active in the transfer portal, but Sam Hartman is the most significant move that we've seen, and obviously so because of him being the top-rated quarterback in the transfer portal this offseason. But that said, let's look at your schedule now going to next season. So you got Navy in week 0. That game is in Ireland. So you got a trip to start off the season in week 0 on August 26th. Then you got Tennessee State in week 1. A home game against Tennessee State should be pretty easy to get a win against them, which is obviously crucial because coming back from your Ireland trip, I do think it's a good thing to have an easy FCS opponent in week 1. Then you got NC State on the road in week 2. NC State, team to keep an eye on. It's a road trip. Got to be careful with that one. Then you got Central Michigan and Ohio State at home after that. Duke on the road, Louisville on the road after that. Then you got USC coming to town. That's going to be a huge game. USC, Caleb Williams, that's a team that I could see being a big contender next season. I really like USC, and yeah, keep an eye on them. Then you got your bye week, and then Pitt at home after that. Clemson on the road, huge game there. And then Wake Forest, and then Stanford on the road to finish out the regular season. So that said, let's look at the first month of action here. So you got Navy in week 0. Should take care of them, no problem. I'm really not too concerned. I see winning that game pretty easily. Same with Tennessee State. So a 2-0 start to the season should be guaranteed. If you lose one of those games, I definitely would be concerned. NC State on the road, this is a game where I really don't have high expectations for NC State, but it is on the road, and NC State can be a dangerous team. So I'll say be careful with that one, but I do think I'll favor you there right now. Central Michigan, also an easy win. Then you got Ohio State. Now, this is a huge game as well. I mean, Notre Dame, this is a team that's got some tough opponents on this schedule. That's what you want if you want to make a run for the postseason for the college football playoff. And you got Ohio State on your schedule. You got USC on your schedule. Clemson as well is going to be difficult. So those are your big 3, I think, in this season. Ohio State, USC, and Clemson. Ohio State, I'll favor you there. I think Ohio State next season should be a contender once again. I don't think the ceiling for them is quite as high as it was heading into 2022 because no more CJ Stroud, and this offense needs to rebuild just a bit. And Ohio State, they still should be outstanding offensively, but it just might not be quite as excellent as maybe was the last couple of seasons. Then you got Duke on the road. Now, Duke's a team where, I see them maybe being a 6 or 7 win team if they can build on last season. I'll put it in yellow just because it's a road game, but I'll favor you there as well. So your ceiling's 6-0 heading into your second half of the season. I'd say your floor is 4-2. Half of your games come within September. So, if you look at as you head into October, you're actually halfway through the season already because you played in week 0, of course, and plus your bye is pretty late. So that is something to keep in mind. Then you got Louisville on the road on October 7th. I do think you beat them. Louisville next season, I've got very low expectations for. I think they struggle to get to a bowl game. I just don't see them being very good. USC, then after that, that's a huge game. The Trojans coming to town. I can see that one being the big game of the week for sure. I'm going to favor Notre Dame there, though. I do think the Irish have what it takes to get it done there. Once again, I really like this team going into next season. I think Sam Hartman and this team gets it done, and they beat USC in a high-scoring shootout. And once again, I'm not picking it. I'm not going to pick them quite yet, but I will be favoring them. I do think Notre Dame wins right now, but that's not an official prediction. We're just too far out. That's kind of the point of a schedule preview. But for Pitt, I think I'll favor you there as well. Pitt next season. I think they're maybe an 8-9 win team at best. I do think I'll favor you there as well. And then November, you got Clemson on the road. I will be favoring Clemson there. A road game, tough environment. And I think personally, I mean, USC and Ohio State even could be better teams than Clemson in the 2023 season. I think Clemson is going to be a contender. They're going to be better than they were the past couple of seasons. But I do want to favor Clemson in that game with it being a road game in a tough environment. I do think I'll favor the Tigers there in a close one right now. Then you got Wake Forest and Stanford, two games that I think you should win. I'll favor against Wake Forest in the yellow, meaning I could see being a close game, and that's going to be a fun one. Sam Hartman against his former team, Wake Forest and South Bend. Yeah, that's going to be a fun one. Just a fun schedule coming up here for Notre Dame with your big games with Ohio State, USC, and Clemson. A lot to look forward to for the Irish here, but your ceiling's 12-0. I think undefeated is the ceiling for this team. Floor is 8-4. I don't see this team being any worse than 8 wins. Honestly, a good ballpark I'd say is 10-11 wins for Notre Dame. I think 11 wins is honestly most likely. I think this team has got a very high ceiling going into next season. I really like this team a lot. Sam Hartman, this team, the returning production, looks really good going to next season. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below on Notre Dame, and I appreciate you guys all watching as always. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. Catch you on the next one.